China's rise has attracted global attention, and many have focused on China's economic model behind its rise, which is of course important. But China's evolving political change has been somehow ignored by many. In fact, without much fanfare, China has established a system of meritocracy, or what can be described as selection plus election. Competent leaders are selected on the basis of performance and broad support through a vigorous process of screening, opinion surveys, internal evaluations, and various types of elections. This is much in line with the Confucian tradition of meritocracy. After all, China is the first country that invented the civil service examination system, or the Keju system. Today, China practices, not always successfully, but on the whole successful, meritocracy across the whole political stratum, criteria based on poverty eradication, job creation, local economic growth, social development, and increasingly, environmental protection are all key criteria for selecting and promoting officials. A good example of this were the profiles of China's new leaders elected at the 19th Party's Congress. 6 of the 7 of the top leaders, members of Standing Committee of Political Bureau, have run provinces or province-level municipalities, many of which, in terms of population or GDP, are equivalent to many nations combined. Indeed, the Chinese system of meritocracy today makes it inconceivable that anyone as weak as George W. Bush or Donald Trump could ever come close to the position of a top leadership. It's not far-fetched to claim that the China model is more about leadership rather than showmanship, as in the West. China's meritocratic governance challenges the stereotypical dichotomy of democracy versus autocracy. From a Chinese point of view, the nature of the state, including its legitimacy, has to be defined by its substance, that is, good governance, competent leadership, and success in meeting people's needs. So, despite its many deficiencies, the Chinese polity has delivered the world's fastest growing economy, has vastly improved living standards for most Chinese. Winston Churchill's famous dictum, "Democracy is the worst form of government except for all those other forms that have been tried," may be true in the Western political and cultural context. And many Chinese even paraphrase Churchill's remark into what Sun Tzu, China's military strategist of the 6th century BC, called 下下策, or the least bad option, which means a system that would allow for the exit of bad leaders through regular elections. But in China's Confucian tradition of meritocracy, a state should always strive for what's called a 上上策, or the best of the best options, by choosing leaders of the highest caliber. This is by no means easy, but efforts to this end should be ceaseless and continuous. China's political and institutional arrangement and innovation so far have produced a system which has in many ways combined the best option of selecting well-tested, competent leaders and the least bad option of ensuring the exit of the leaders who should exit for all kinds of reasons, through, for instance, a collective leadership or age limits. The China model of selection plus election is by no means perfect. It's still being improved upon. But it's well positioned to compete with the Western model of popular democracy.